goes. What's happening, brother Gus? Welcome to the Platform Podcast. Sir, how are you today?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Now, where are you?
Phuket, Thailand. I live here now.
You live in Phuket, Thailand. You found somewhere. You're not traveling around now?
Yeah. I'm gonna slow down for a little bit. I got some business and work I want to focus on for a while.
Yep. Man, Phuket's not a bad place to play.
Mate, it's a lovely, really nice place to work, really relaxing, but also it's got a good mixture of pretty strong hustle culture as well as pretty chilled, very chilled.
Yep.
Great training culture. That's very strong training culture here.
And for those that don't know, Gus, you are a superstar coach currently in the online space pretty much solely now, yeah? Would that be right?
Yeah, shifted completely. Hence why I can travel.
Yeah, hence why you can travel the planet. And I think I've talked with quite a few coaches recently, this thing or in person and in the online's about this changing, exciting space for a coach and what that means. You've done it all. You've done grassroots coaching on the gym floor where you touch, feel, work with everyone. You've seen where that was coaching, right? And you've seen the transition to the opportunity of online space, and now you've lent into it solely. How long have you been playing coach for?
Started in 2011 and it had evolved, a long time. So started the same journey as probably most coaches, in the personal training space, found powerlifting as a bit of a hobby, make that transition to a coach.
Yep.
And then, sometimes you kind of follow the narrative a little bit and moved into opening up a gym space, which obviously has its challenges, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then making that final shift into the end space.
Where was your first coaching gig or PT gig? Where were you?
Classic Fitness First.
Fitty First. Glory days. Which one?
That one in Mount Gravatt.
Yeah.
I think it's a Good Life now.
Yeah, they're all good lives, right?
Yeah, it's pretty old school. I don't know if there's many Fitness First anymore. I think they're all branched into
Good Life owns everyone, I think.
Yeah.
They own them all. Do you think something I talk about with a young coach starting, you got to do an apprenticeship, right? Even today, you don't just get to be the guy or the girl. You do an apprenticeship. What is that a good place? Was that a good place to do the apprenticeship and learn what you liked, didn't like, and what to do, how to do it?
I think, yeah. I mean, from my experiences, like hiring coaches over the years as well, the best coaches are the ones who've, I guess, have also learnt to work, train, and coach and communicate with just the general population and broad fitness aspects, because you get to see the foundational supports of just health and fitness, which in the end is what also is the foundational supports of high performing athletes, right? They all have the same problems, just both minds are orientated quite differently and the goals are different. But I found that coaches with that background had greater understanding and empathy around what clients need.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's a big nutrition rate of coaches, right? I'm sure the guys and girls that were there in 2011 with you, how many of them are still floating around in the trenches playing coach or PT?
It's like that's all the OG guys. I mean, yeah, not many are left, and the ones that are left are the ones doing well. It's a hard gig. I think just being an entrepreneur, business owner is something that you have to constantly evolve and adapt and be consistently hardworking at. Or just as you know, probably chews you up and spits you out, and if you don't keep doing something, you know.
Yeah, because when you get it right, it's pretty fun. I don't know about you, but I love what I do.
Yeah. It has its ups and downs. Always love the job. Sometimes it's stressful. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's just like powerlifting. As long as you know your drive, what drives you. As long as you know what you love, when shit is getting a bit hard, you know what you're doing it for.
Yeah, 100%. With powerlifting for you, did you just stumble across it? What was your introduction to the sport? Was it just you were kind of strong at Fitness First and someone said, you should go lift something?
Well, Yeah, funny story. I mean, initially started as a bodybuilder,
No way.
and yeah, I competed in bodybuilding. And the thing is, I was doing it solo at the time. At that stage, it wasn't a big community as it is today. It was both bodybuilding and powerlifting were probably more the deeper underground sports that were the outcasts of society in the gym world. Definitely today, it's very broadly accepted. So at the time, it was the communities that you'd only have would be on Reddit, some people you might follow on YouTube, but there weren't
Mm.
many people doing it
Mm.
at the time. And I followed a few people, some podcasts, and there was just heavy language. I found this really good podcast, and he was a nutrition professor who was also a bodybuilder, and his co-host was a power lifter, and they had a great dynamic. And listening to them put in a huge importance on strength training in terms of building and preserving muscle. And it's something that I started to implement and fell in love with. And as I was getting much stronger, it was making me obviously a lot bigger and helping maintain muscle, especially while I was cutting. You know, it excites your training, right? But then in the final 6 to 8 weeks, you know, coming into bodybuilding, you lose muscle. It doesn't matter what you do, you lose muscle no matter what. Because I would say you look your best 6 to 8 weeks out from a bodybuilding competition, but you got to really strip that last few percent, which by that stage, you're losing like 50-50 fat and muscle. So you're going to have to lose
Yeah.
if you want to lose that last 2-3 kilos of fat, you got to lose another 2-3 kilos of muscle, right? And that's quite depressing, right? It saps
Yeah.
your
You worked
strength,
hard for that muscle,
zaps your
bro.
motivation. Yeah. Anyway, it made me realize, like, man, I love being strong. I probably couldn't care less about how I look. So did that, then went straight into a powerlifting competition.
Mm.
And it felt natural to me, right? I was
Yeah.
already pretty strong coming into the sport. Wasn't very big at the time. It was just PTC with Scott Watson,
OG crew, bro.
and
There
yeah,
was a strong bunch of people back then.
there were just 30 of us, and it was 28 of us. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no one else. Every probably majority of the states had one powerlifting crew. That's about it. And Brisbane had the biggest one at the time, which was only
Yep.
about 30.
Yep.
So yeah, good old days.
Mate, what was your first numbers? Do you remember what you pulled?
Yeah, I think I went to a novice comp, and because I already had probably a good 4 years of training behind me,
Yeah.
so I came into it pretty strong with a lot of potential already because I had the muscle from bodybuilding, and I think I got like six. I think six it was like 630 or something like that in my first comp.
Mm.
One, and then obviously I was hooked straight away. Moving then into another competition, like taking it up a notch, not doing so well, right?
Uh-oh.
This is when it's like, okay, there's more to this, right?
Yep.
So we go seek out some help, discovering PTC and that crew, and right from there, just started the obsession.
And then that was it. And then was that a quick switch for you? You're obviously PTing at the moment, quite generally, lack of a better word. You found the sport you loved, and you're like, all right, I can now apply this and do it in this circle and be in this community as a coach. Is that how it got you over there for
Yeah,
coaching?
or not an initially. Like I was the the biggest initial problem with coaching was that the first business didn't quite make it. So you know, being a PT, that didn't really work out. After about a year, started making some good income. Christmas time came around, which for PTs in general is not the best time. Lost. I had to start again. So that's when I got into bodybuilding, try to rebuild the business and start again. And this time when I started again, I had probably already been done powerlifting for about a year, and I just incorporated into the general population really. At that time, no one had really incorporated a kind of subscription-based model with like programming, nutrition, and coaching.
Mm.
So that's an idea I started implementing, and then Scott wanted me to come over to his gym to start powerlifting coaching. And so I jumped on the opportunity. And from there, like being an athlete and running out of the gym at the time, the market was open to me. I mean, the market was just starting to boom. And it was about 2012, 2013 was really starting to grow. That's when GPC was just like doubling every year.
Yep.
And at the stage, I was the only person providing nutrition. So I had a massive clientele. I was coaching I had too many. I had the problem of too many clients, which I learned some big lessons from. Having clients from nearly every gym, every powerlifting gym, because again, being the only one providing nutrition.
Yeah.
So probably had 5 to 10 from like every state, from every gym, just from all the other bigger players, like all the other PTC gyms, pretty much. So yeah, that became some good lessons. Definitely came out of that. But that's the story of transitioning into powerlifting coaching and where that all started.
Yeah, and that it would have been, being the only person playing in the food space, that would have been an exciting place to be. You're the leader for everyone, showing everyone how to do it. Where did you draw your concepts and ideas from to be able to apply food to powerlifting if you're the only one there doing it?
Well, I did a lot of study in sports nutrition, right? Applying it mostly at this early stages to myself in bodybuilding. So it was all through experience, and because I have a science background, I know how to study, know how to research. I got a background in physics, and that allows me to again apply academic knowledge. But then I have this unique context of being able to apply it to the applicability to elite level competition, because what is taught academically doesn't necessarily translate very well into the field. But if you know what you're doing on both ends of the spectrum, you can find really good applications. And so through years of experience, trial and error, and coaching many athletes, seeing what produced real world results, was able to then do that for myself, which I don't like to teach anything unless I've at least done it myself, and then just applying that start applying that, right? All those principles.
Yeah.
To everyone. So no exact formal education, but years and years of experience and knowledge and know-how.
Being the human guinea pig, mate, was there anything you tried on yourself that didn't work out? And you're like, oh God, that doesn't work. Don't do that.
Yeah, I would say nearly everything. I think this is this is the thing. I had this workshop the other day I presented to it, and I put a little bit of my story in there. And while I was writing out my story, so people knew a bit who I am, a bit more about my background, you kind of realize that, well, I didn't at the stage have anyone to really go to. All there was at the stage was the Russian methodology of like Boroshenko, Smolov, and all that stuff, which were still only templated programs, not much knowledge. All the information was still kept secret until probably another 5 years later. Then you had the West Side stuff, which still hadn't branched into where it is now, was still very heavily equipped. So training, which didn't have much translation to raw lifting. I forget, what was the question again? What was going with my point?
Being a human guinea pig, getting everything wrong.
A human guinea pig, yeah. So I had to experiment a lot with a lot of things, and everything that you try and do works in this pendulum. You swing one way, you swing back the other way, it doesn't work, and you kind of just hit all these bumper rails, right? And anything you could break, I have broken. Any intense level of training you can do, I've done, which you realize, okay, more training and more intense training doesn't work. You go back the other way to less training. All right, or maybe I'm not making progress. Sometimes you discover you make more progress with a lot less, right? So because there was no one at the time telling me what to do, I had to discover all of this stuff on my own. So for a very long time, I felt I was on the frontier of it all, discovering the problems myself, and then passing those lessons on to everyone else so no one else makes mistakes. And I think I've gotten to a point where I've accumulated enough mistakes that it's made it, I've put myself in a position that has probably made it pretty hard to make it to exactly where I want to go in powerlifting because of how much I've broken myself. But the positive from that is that I've been able, complete rupture of the pec, I've torn both pecs, I've cracked my patella, So I got a crack my patella, yeah. Well, those are the major
How'd you crack
ones.
your
I think
patella?
I've had a labrum. This is, I would say this was probably accumulation of the real high intensity training, the high volume training from doing Shako
Yeah.
for probably about 2 years. I would say not giving myself time to recover, doing competitions back to back. Again, a lot of lessons learned there. It's like you probably shouldn't train such high volume for multiple competitions for probably about, I would say it was like probably 2 years back to back. It was probably like 4 or 5 competitions at the year, which at the time, in terms of like rehab, prehab and stuff didn't exist back then. That knowledge behind, periodization and planning all seasons to allow the slower aspects of your physiology to recover, such as your tendons and bones and collagen. They just, compared to muscle recovers at an extremely fast rate. You're talking in a few days, right? Nervous system's taking like a week, week or two, but you're looking at your bones and tendons, they're taking months, even years to have that adaptation. And this is why it's crucial to have off season, right? To allow the lagging physiology to also acclimate to your new strength.
Mm.
And this is where you can distinguish a difference between, newbies and elite. It just seems like some of those elite guys are just like, it looks like they're built strong. It's like, yes, yeah, but also that's just 10 years of it, like calcified bones and strengthened tendons, and that don't just develop in a very short time frame, right? So it's one of those things where, learning how to manage fatigue, manage recovery, how to periodize properly, understanding where the limitations of food is, not over consuming, right? Big culture of overconsumption of calories for the sake of calories was a very much a powerlifting cultural thing, which leads really to just excessive weight gain, not really any strength progress. These days you can be lean and be strong. You can diet and still increase your strength to some point, right? The knowledge didn't exist. So it's being the guinea pig to discover it. It's almost like it's an instrument.
Yeah.
But any joint you've heard of, any common injuries, like let's talk about common injuries in there's like, you get shoulder pain, bicep pain, elbow pain, right? Lower back pain, probably the most common one. I've probably injured my back quite a few times, but now because of that, I've mastered how to prevent it, right?
Yep.
For most people, it's nearly the most impossible thing to avoid. It's probably the number one injury that occurs the most, because to avoid back injury requires an absolute level of precision and mastery behind lifting, and self-awareness and care, that you can avoid it. But I would say not a single power lifter who wants to push this will ever not experience back pain at some point.
100%. Can't be perfect all
I hope
the time.
that makes the point. I hope that makes the point of, like, I guess, how I've had to experiment with myself for so long.
It's fun doing the experimenting, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, eventually I saw that the pace of my innovation was starting to the world was starting to catch up into powerlifting once it got bigger, and then there were more bigger players in there, and then there are people that I could start learning off from, and not just in powerlifting field, but in other fields. So it was at a really emerging time when I started,
Yeah, and then now, thanks to the great rectangle of social media, if you follow some quality coaches, and you're one of the ones I enjoy following, there's right there in your fingertips in 1 3-minute reels, little segments of information that's just like golden nuggets that can take you on a journey. Some nuggets and journeys you might not want to go on, but you work out the hard way. But I think thanks to what's happening there, the accessibility information and coaches out there to go and follow with what you guys put out is just awesome now.
Yeah, I mean, social media's changed the landscape completely. There's both positives and negatives to it,
Yep. Because you
certainly
started
a lot of
social
positives
media.
in terms of, it was there was nothing in powerlifting in social media, and Instagram was really still just a photography platform. Wasn't really anything. Facebook is probably the only thing where it was more like community based stuff. There wasn't really any advertising. My really only advertising at the time is that I just get into different whatever I thought, I just posted, and then people would disagree or agree, and then just had conversations, and every time I do that, I'd keep getting more leads. I mean, I wish it was that easy today in terms of getting clients. You could just talk shit online, but it doesn't. You have to be quite precise with what you say now. And even then, the market's quite noisy now, which
Yeah.
makes it really hard to push your stuff out.
Everyone's an online coach now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
And obviously you were early into the online space as well, I'm imagining. Was that just done, was that a deliberate plan to start moving or having that opportunity, or you were already there with nutrition, right? People engaging, interacting with you around the country, you're already doing online, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, it was kind of a hybrid at the time. You know, it was. I knew that you couldn't just coach people face to face if you really truly wanted to make strong people. You needed a constant support system.
Yeah.
And so you creating some sort of hybrid, which was at the time obviously didn't exist. So incorporating online programming, online nutrition, online support through other means, which actually make communication support faster rather than waiting to come see me again, right? You can communicate with me faster, which seems like, of course, that's what you do, right? But it wasn't then. It wasn't there back then. It remained a hybrid for a long time. The idea was to move online, but I didn't quite make the full move, given that, you know, I had a large client base in person, had a gym at the time. Yep. So, you know, it wasn't one of those things like, oh, I need to go just all in this one thing. So it always remained a hybrid, but I had a framework to run an online business, and then finally made that full shift pretty much during COVID.
Yep. COVID
that kind
brought
of was
it on.
The trigger point.
Yeah. I was going to say, was it a scary time to switch to online? But if doing it at COVID time, it was almost a necessity, right? It had to happen.
Yeah, COVID kind of forced my hand into it. You know, I had to come across a critical choice on whether or not I want to keep the gym going and push through COVID, or call it quits early. And you know, there are already a lot of struggles trying to keep that business life. I mean, on the outside, it was successful. I mean, I was creating strong lifters, had a strong team, had no problems getting clients. The problems was probably at the time my business skills in terms of keeping it efficient. I'm trying to grow faster than making a mistake for trying to grow faster than I was probably capable of doing and had the resources to do. So when COVID came around, I talked to my lawyers and had a discussion on what the best choices would be to do. And the option came up that we could close it over COVID, because they already predicted shutdowns probably about 2 months before there were shutdowns. They were already ahead of the economics. So they said this is probably what's going to happen, and that if you were to liquidate the gym, that COVID would probably be the best time, because there'll be so much chaos. There'll be so much favoring support for you because you can just bring it under the umbrella of COVID. That once I decided to close the gym, it was probably the easiest, best process I had in terms of liquidating the company. I actually claimed for bankruptcy, closed on my debt, got ahead anyone else who was able to, you know, throw in lawsuits and stuff, because if you're going to claim bankruptcy, you're going to get lawsuits.
Yep.
Was able to fight those like very much ahead of time. So I got away with that with actually a profit, quite a good profit, because I had the chaos to my advantage.
Yep.
And then I just started a new adventure, which, well, was slow to take off, but I had some discoveries to make on how to operate solely online.
Yeah, interesting space, right? I guess and for that's just the human experiment beginning again, right? Learning, working out what's the best modality for conversation, platforms to use, best way to deliver information, etc. Right? That'll be just the next human experiment for you.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps life exciting.
Yeah, and I think the thing I like that you touched on, because I dabble with a bit more hybrid, like you used to be with coaching, some online, some not, some online in the gym. The first thing I say to people is like, the only thing you don't have with you is me touching you. I can't do that, but you actually get me the whole time instead of that very single moment. And the effective change, whether I know for my own clients, whether it's the one-on-ones being supported in the online space through the week, or it's the person just come to the gym doing online, or online itself, you can change so much with someone because you can chat to them every single day or every other day. It's such an amazing coaching space, right? Like at the end of the day, if you can get really good at communication, you don't need to be the one spotting them. Someone else can do that job.
No, exactly. Communication is, if you were to strip away all the face-to-face stuff, if you were to strip away as much as you can, and you see what essentially creates great progress, is the ability to communicate. Because the biggest lately, probably in say the last 3 years or so, most of pretty much 90% of the problems when coaches come seek me out is it fundamentally is a communication problem that they have with their previous coach, right? It's not necessarily like the things are going wrong. It's just the communication between what the coach wants them to do and their understanding of what needs to be done, and then the coach not understanding their needs enough, and so they have a conflict. And so when I bring them on, I've learned to really realize that in the end that they're the boss. The client is the boss. I just have to help them make the right decisions, their decisions, and make sure they have good clarity on that. And then I have to try and understand what they perceive and what they want, bring it to some form of reality, give them a process of accountability and support, teach them where they can probably push harder or where they need to probably pull back, but let them make that decision and coach that, right? Yeah. That's coaching the person first rather than coaching the athlete. And I think that's where coaches can probably get stuck, is that they're trying to coach an athlete. You got to coach the person first. You can't create an athlete without coaching the person.
Yeah, I think if everyone's kind of, look, if it was just a robot driving the bus and we just had to tell it to move from A to B, it'd be quite simple. There's a human inside that skeletal mass.
It's a rare human being.
Yeah, and they are one of a kind. And they're all individuals, right? Absolutely. The thing I was interested, part of your learning and your gravitation to training styles and stuff, I know you always speak quite a fair bit about around velocity training. How did you land learning about that?
Yeah, interesting story as well. I mean, this is where we got to a point. It was out of necessity. It was a move out of necessity, right? So I was able to push people to be the strongest they could be, right? And because of that, I was in uncharted territory, right? There's no information on this, right? On what to do. How do you make the strongest human being in the world stronger? So that means you have to fall down to principles, right? You have to understand the principles of neurology, physiology, psychology, right? And find out fundamentally where the problems lie. Now, luckily for me, some of these individuals, one, being Sarah, she's like a robot, right?
Yep.
She is a machine. The good thing about working with machines like that is that, and someone who's already pushed the limit, that there's no variability whatsoever. It has to be precise. What I mean by variability is that a highly variable, adaptable person is a beginner, right? You get a beginner, you can give them any program. You can just write on a piece of paper, squat, bench, and deadlift, and say, do that. You'll get stronger, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, then the problem becomes is that, okay, well, this 5x5 program worked. It must work. It must be 5x5 that works. It's like, no, well, that person it just worked for that person at that time because, right, could easily adapt. Now, the good thing about having Sarah is that anything you could possibly use had been used. So it had to come down to a fundamental principle of rate of recovery. So when we dive a little bit deeper into it, I had learned about velocity-based training through Chris Duffin. He was probably the only person at the time. He was the only person at the time utilizing velocity-based training. So it intrigued my interest. I experimented on myself first, and then I started to dive a little bit deeper into it. And if you know about velocity-based training, it has a strong correlation to your preparedness level. Now, preparedness is a deep fundamental concept behind rates of individual adaptation towards stimulus and its effects from recovery. The thing is, preparedness is unpredictable. And when we're trying to coach someone we're trying to create a stimulus at a relative distance to proximity to failure, which is a dynamic system which is defined by preparedness. The problem with traditional programming, it is based on a static fixed number. That's how traditionally had been for a long time. The problem with that is that it actually changes every day. When it changes every day, you get this problem. If you're trying to be precisely within a certain proximity to failure and you have lower preparedness for the day, right? You're now exceeding stimulus, introducing too much fatigue.
Yep.
If you are getting stronger, right? Now you're understimulated. You are lacking stimulus to make progress. So it becomes more random whether or not you're going to hit it. So people's primary solution to that was more volume. But if you can be more precise, you can get away with a lot less volume, and it's actually more effective. What velocity-based training did is that it was a live feedback of exactly the proximity of the failure they were, and you were able to correlate that to exact percentile of distance to failure. So you're able to apply the right amount of stimulus. What it also tells you is that how much of an impact how much volume or intensity it takes for you to have for fatigue to suppress output. Now, if you have roughly a 20% loss in velocity, that's usually the rough point that you've accumulated enough. Anything more is just accumulation of fatigue. Right? Now, fatigue is good. It's about balance. But from there, you're able to precisely program within the principles rather than just trying to follow a method. And so we came up with, I've refined this model over and over again to try to simplify to make it easier for coaches, athletes to do, and focus more on individuals making better decisions based off this information. So because of this, we were able to get more out of training, and very quickly we were able, after a 2-year plateau that Sarah had on her squat, we were able to add something like 40 kilos in 6 months to her squat compared to making nothing in 2 years.
Whoa.
And we were having very difficulty getting her bench any stronger because at the time was still the all-time Australian record. And it's like, how do you make this even stronger?
She's already number one.
Well, I had to just be a lot more precise. That stalled for a long time. Velocity-based training really moved that forward. So that discovery was quite big in terms of understanding the relationship between understanding force production a lot better. Because if you think about simply training, we live by one equation, right? Mass times acceleration, which equals force, right? The thing is, all programs are based off mass, with acceleration being guessed, and it's guessed through visual, right? A coach can see if things are slowing down or going too fast. Or RPE is an indirect measure of acceleration, but velocity-based training is a direct measure of acceleration. So we get mass, we get now the full picture, the full variables, right? Instead of just programming for mass, we now program for mass times acceleration, which gives us a full picture.
Love it. I love it. And obviously your background, like you've said, on research and study, you must have thrived with that kind of data analysis and deeper, understanding, in-depth sort of niddly little bits of the programming itself, and like just seeing all that additional data, really being able to capitalize on that, right?
Honestly, it felt like I was plugging a USB into an athlete and was able to just read them, right? So easily. You can read to the point it was so accurate that you can tell whether it would tell you, if you know how to interpret the data, it'll tell you whether someone's also just being too soft.
Really?
Right?
So if they're sandbagging it.
Well, yeah, because the data was objective. It didn't lie. So it's like that felt hard, and I look at the numbers like, no, it didn't. You just think it was. And they may believe it. Here's the thing. They will truly believe it isn't, right? And I'll show them that it is not, right? And then you see that the limitation was always just their mind and how they interpreted discomfort, how they interpreted what a grind feels like. And so I was able to, first off, I got to help them mentally bring them to that point and then coach that weakness. So if if their bar was lower to determine whether what failure felt like, right? Because it could be lower for a lot of people. If that was the barrier, right? But if some people's barrier is right up where the real stimulus happens. So it feels like for some people, I got to push them to like failing nearly every day to push that barrier up. And now they've just then, they're not going to have this new mindset. Their barrier reference point's a lot higher, and then now we've got some really good training stimulus. But yeah,
And that
I was able to
looking at
even,
data with you would give them confidence too, right? It's what all well and good for a
yeah,
coach to say, no man, that moved really easy, and they're like, no, it felt hard. But then you give them the additional piece. Say, no, look at this. It says bar speed, blah blah blah. You've got more in there.
yeah, you were able, it enabled you to separate the mental side of things.
Yep.
The mental struggles that you might have around lifting and make it objective. So that in itself made things quite motivating, but it also did it the other way, where how sometimes you just like you're not sure if you should pull the plug, and you're not just being soft, but things just feeling so bad, so shit, and you're not sure if this is just going to make things worse. Well, sometimes velocity can tell you it's like, yeah, you're not going so well. If you keep going, right, these are the problems that are going to occur. Probably best to pull back. And that was probably Sarah's biggest feedback. It told her when to pull back.
Yeah.
Right? And by exactly how much.
That's cool. Yeah, so imagine with the high achieving athlete, particular ones I've come across, I'm sure it'd be the same as like, even when they're tired, they're willing to go for it still. And it's being able to manage that aspect with them that today you shouldn't. But if you've got data, like you said, with that there, that can help support that decision for them to become comfortable with the idea of dropping back, lack of a better word, right?
Yeah. I think it's a really good tool. I would say I say to also athletes, like there has to be a level of intuition that data isn't also going to read, but it's a very strong indication. And so it's very good to I call it like calibration tools. So it gives you a reference point to calibrate, but then at some point you want to let go of using those tools and try to implement through intuition a little bit. So it's good to have it there, but you also try to build intuition, because when you also know athletes, even if the data doesn't show, some athletes, kind of have this gut feeling, and sometimes it's not always right. Sometimes it is. If they're a highly trained athlete, it'll be trustworthy that they know they've got it, even though the numbers aren't there. They know they've got it, right? And they get it. And that's because athletes can get very good at really upregulating what they need to, really upregulate the nervous system to drive through. And that becomes a very natural instinct that athletes can develop. So I always say, like, I see a lot of people get obsessed with these tools as well. And I find that becomes their new barrier. So my suggestion is that, yes, these tools are great and they're just tools, but nothing will ever beat an elite level, highly skilled, intuitive athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
I think some people who are who are like too intuitive, that they don't have any form of regulation. And so it goes both ways. Some people need it to be pushed up. Some people need it to be pulled back, calibrates them, go again.
Yeah. Yeah. And mate, 40 kilos on Sarah, squats extraordinary. She's gone on to squat 300 and how many?
15.
300 and something. 315 of those kilos. Number one in the world for squat in total.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is number one in the world, is it?
Yeah, I think
was
she's
there
just
like a 320?
Maybe there is a 320, but she's got them on total though, right?
Hey, she's got everything on total, so I mean, it doesn't matter, does it?
Doesn't matter. Exactly right. I like that, man.
I got the best squat. I got the best deadlift, but I got the best everything. So
yeah, I've got the best.
I mean, the aim of the game is the biggest.
Absolutely, mate. Your passion for travel, is that something that you've always had, or is that something that sort of developed for yourself, and that's what put you on this path to now adventure to the world?
Yeah, no, I've always had the itch to travel. It's I think it's also important, just as for personal development, to experience cultures. I mean, the learnings you get about yourself is huge, to see more outside your world. And I think as a person, allows you to see what more there is, instead of being stuck in a world which then you kind of become accustomed to a degree that it can also be the limitation of why people can't grow, right? because the world view becomes narrow. And not only that, the experiencing of the world outside of what media tells you is vastly different. Real world and what you see on medias are not the same.
Mm.
On the ground experience, talking to people, even about political issues. Like when I went to America, it was eye opening. I got to meet some really good people over there who were very open to talk about politics. And what you see on media and what really is just completely different. And I think I'm just a curious person who just likes different adventure, different learnings, different things. And travel provides a lot of that.
Mm.
And I always try to travel, but always been stuck having a gym and stuff. It always made it quite difficult. And an opportunity came up, right? Opportunity came up, and it's like, you know what? There's actually nothing really keeping me from staying here. I'm just choosing to stay here.
Yeah.
In the end, I have the means to just move.
Mm.
And we're just like, fuck it. Like, let's just go. We got rid of our home, got rid of our car, and started to make the travel, right? And when you're forced yourself into that situation, you're forced to solve the problem, right?
Mm.
So, okay, well, now I'm here. I'm going to have to survive somehow. And it opens up a whole new world to try to, well, figure out how to make this online thing work and go all in. And then you learn new things. You figure out how to make it more effective. And in the end, it turns out to be, you know, very effective for anyone moving to intermediate to elite level, or for going from beginner to intermediate. There's so much more you can learn depending on how you design your system, right? But yeah, coming back to travel, yeah, for a while there, we just decided to just move country every month for a while.
Pretty. How did you pick your next country?
Well, some of it was just based off the foods we like. It's like, oh, we like Italian foods. And then we just gained more interest in other areas and other cultures. It's like, oh, we want to experience more of these things. And, you know, along the way, I got to meet a few people. Actually met a really, really good business mentor during my travels as well. And because of that, I actually decided to settle down for a little bit in Thailand, just so I can really focus on business a bit more. But I've learned how to, you know, essentially work as what you kind of call a you can call it like a nomad capitalist, right? It's kind of
Nomad cap.
it's like the digital nomad 2.0.
Yeah.
You have the digital nomad who just works on a laptop at another country. Well, there's the second type, which you could go into creating almost like your own sovereignty, right? Which removes you from any identification with any sort of nationality and moving and utilizing all nations that best work for you. For example, my company is an American company. Right?
Really?
Reason why? Yeah, I have an LLC in Wyoming.
Yeah, right.
Now, reason for that: tax laws are great. Right? There was nothing illegal about it. So I talked to the ATO. I closed my tax residency and opened up a corporation in America. Yep. So Lifters League is an American company that basically doesn't have to pay tax because I'm not an American citizen. I live in Thailand, which uses a territorial-based tax system, which means I don't get taxed on income. I only get taxed on income I earn from Thailand, which I don't earn any income from Thailand. It's all foreign income.
Yep.
So yeah, it's one of these things where the idea is that you find areas around the world that works for you and your values and what you want, and you just set them up in different countries. And because of it, my cost of living is cheaper than it is to stay in Australia. Like much cheaper, much cheaper. I'm talking probably savings of tens of thousands of dollars. Our outgoings are just so much lower, now.
I imagine rent.
People think, it must be expensive.
If you're just talking, because you're in Phuket, rent in Phuket for the week, and I imagine food, just the basics would be very affordable compared to being back home here in Brisbane.
Oh yeah, it's like $600 a month.
How good's that?
It's very cheap. Yeah, so it's people get the perception it's like, oh, you must be earning a lot of money. It's like, no, it's just cheaper. It's just cheaper to do. Anyone can do it if you have a means to make an income. And that's probably the hard challenge for a lot of people. You know, If you have a means to make an income, you can online. You'll spend a lot less traveling full time.
Yeah.
If you set it up right.
Do you find you get people reach out to talk to you about that aspect, not just for coaching, but just curious about how you work with being a digital nomad and how that all works? Are you inspiring others?
In passing, just like general conversations like this, not really reaching out about it, but it's not really something I kind of talk about too often, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, when conversations start, people are surprised what you can actually do traveling. Like, it's just not an area that people think is possible. Right? They see it as like, oh, traveling is just, you just take your work with you. You still pay tax, you still do all that. It's like, well, you don't have to. You can take it to the next level and almost like declare yourself as a global citizen or individual sovereignty to then actually just utilize part. And what it does, it diversifies as risk, right? If I'm spread across few economic structures, I don't rely on one economy collapsing. If Australian economy was to collapse, I'd still be fine. Right?
Yeah.
If I have numerous residencies across the state and something changes politically that causes restriction, I can just move. Right?
Yep.
It's just another way to view your lifestyle that isn't really a big thing yet, I guess. But being a digital nomad has certainly grown in the last 5 years or so.
Do you think you'd see yourself, like you said, you're in Phuket for a bit more of a business focused space, jumping back on the travel bus and looking to explore more of the world next?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's so much more of the world I want to see.
What's top of the list? Where would you like to go to next?
I haven't had much experience through the Western Asia and the Middle East. Those are probably areas I haven't explored. I spent a lot of time in Asia and Europe, but that's an area of the world I haven't seen. Maybe like North Asia. Would love to see like Eastern Russia and stuff as well. Yep. But obviously, it's probably not going to be an easy visa or entry to get into. Probably not the best time to go to. But again, for me, it's all about the political stance on that. It's just exploring the cultural side of things,
Yep.
I mean, other great places to live other than Thailand has also been. I lived in Japan for a while. I think we lived two months in Japan. We lived 2 months in South Korea, which is also a really great place to work from. Thailand, I come to Thailand because I love the training environment here, and how relaxed. It's that nice hybrid between hustle culture and being just relaxed and trained.
You still go sit on the beach and chill out.
Yeah. I love it. I mean,
and you still
all this comes
aspirational
with struggles, but
and for your own training, you still got powerlifting aspirations for yourself. Are you still maintaining an SBD in there? Another comp, another day?
Probably at the moment, no competition. Like I got to the last competition I did, trying to do it while traveling was difficult. I settled in Bangkok for a while to train for it because it had a great powerlifting facilities and stuff. But it's I'm at a point in my powerlifting where to make progress, it has to be 100%. There's you like for most people, if you miss a couple of meals, cut your timing for a couple of things, you'll make do. To try to push your total past like 900 in the 110s requires absolute dedication. I don't mind doing it, but I'm at a point in my life that that's not the highest priority right now. It's still my business, and it's impossible because it becomes a full-time job, right? And it does start to come with more and more risks as you do it. I've hurt myself a lot, right? And not just like physically, but it's also mentally as well. So I kind of made the choice to put it on hold for a while without really a deadline to it.
Yep.
And still train SBD, of course. Still try to have some strength, but competition wise, no, I'm going to put that on hold for a little while and just do it to keep my strength. And I've actually decided to take up mixed martial arts again. So I used to do that a long time ago.
Let's go. So learning all of them. Got the kickboxing, got the grappling, got the wrestling, got the whole lot.
Yeah, I'm putting my focus mostly right now into BJJ, starting some wrestling. So, yeah. Is that from BJJ?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, cool.
I love it. I've recently just gone back.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
love it.
I
The
need something
Instagram days,
though.
I love it. I
Yeah,
reckon. You've been doing it beforehand as well? Have you got a history doing some grappling as well, or is that new for you?
I did judo and aikido back as a kid. As a teenager, I did it for 7 years.
Yep.
And obviously went into bodybuilding, powerlifting, all that stuff, and now I've come back. And it's triggers it to come back. Like as after BJJ, there's some crossover.
Mm.
And as you keep doing the training, a lot of it comes back, and then it starts to come back really quickly. So yeah, I've been able to pick it up quite quickly, and it's just giving me something to focus on, because I find it really hard personally to train without some sort of goal or some sort of competition. And if I've decided to put powerlifting on hold, it was hard to just keep training. I was just finding it boring, And so yeah, I started getting to mixed martial arts, and it kind of revives it all. It gives you a bit of something to train for,
Yeah, I was going to say, do you enjoy being a beginner
more
again,
variety.
for lack of a better word?
Yeah. Always got to be a student, man. Always got to learn.
So we'll see you in a
Always.
JITS tournament next then, hey?
Yeah, I love to do one. Definitely. I think I'll try and. There's so much to MMA. I think I'll try and at least get good at one of them. I feel BJJ's got a solid foundation of skill sets, and already feels a little bit natural to me, given the judo background.
Yeah. Human chess. I'm sure you'd enjoy the thinking side of it too, right?
Yeah, I love the variety. I love the complexity, the problem solving with it all.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously it got my ass back into gear in terms of training. It was a bit of a sloppy period there for probably a good 6 months of my training.
How was your
It's like,
fitness
man,
on your first roll on the mats?
Yeah, it's my biggest problem. My biggest problem is, well, first one is learning to breathe again. Right? Yeah, very much a habit to hold, which gassed me pretty quick. Number two is regulating my strength. Like I have to dial it right down, or I just gas out completely. So rather than reacting with strength, just moving, feeling a lot more to find the positions and find the technique to use. And I can bring in the strength later, right? I don't need to gas myself. I don't need to win every sparring session. Just
Yeah, I saw a good analogy about that,
happen.
and it was a black belt talking about like new people with speed, stamina, athleticism, etc., a strength, and the way he explained it was like all those things go on a shelf over here, and once you've got jiu-jitsu sorted, then you can start peeling those things off your shelf and apply those with your jiu-jitsu, and then your progression will be next level.
What do you mean by that? Like layer?
Yeah,
like
so
start with the
literally,
BJJ,
just
the
go slow.
foundation.
Don't try and just bash and push your way through everything, essentially. So they're just trying to put that all on the side, not be big and strong. Just like, I need to slowly move my arm where it needs to go and move my hips, not just and muscle through everything.
Yeah, because you just tire out so quick.
Yeah,
Especially the guys you're going up against, especially the guys you go up against who are just like conserving their energy, and you're trying to go hard, and they just move you around like a doll. And like by the time you're so gassed, they're like not even trying anymore to keep you down.
They're just having a giggle with a smile on their face.
Yeah, so I've had some couple of eye-opening experiences, and it's just slow me down and really focus on the technique, like you should with any sport, like you should with powerlifting, right?
Absolutely, brother.
You go hard where you're supposed. You go.
Mate, curious because you've been at the infancy of a lot of things with coaching and stuff. How forward thinking do you look to coaching as a business? Where do you see the future of things going?
Yeah, look, I think I've tried a few times to break into the education space, but I think I do. My biggest problem has always been a bit of a perfectionist, bit of an over analyzer, which is a personal trait I'm trying to keep under wraps, because the way I see it now, if I'm already making lots of really high quality athletes, I need to find better ways to simplify what I already know, rather than trying to push any further. Because honestly, the benefit, there's a diminishing return now, right? And I probably want to get more into the education space because there's a lot of knowledge there that I know isn't taught, right? Isn't being collected in a way. All the information's there, but it isn't gathered in a way that is applicable to powerlifting. And just the experience I have, I want to share. I would like to, use my curiosity to teach and pass on, I guess, the decades of experience that I have built, and see that, I guess, live on in other coaches. When I teach, it's something I am being really passionate about. Half my coaching business is heavily around education. We run coaching classes. We run classes in there twice a week, and they're a huge hit. It progresses my guys so much faster than if I get them to understand rather than just telling them what to do. They progress so much faster. And so I want to take that to athletes, and I'm probably going to do that in the next few months or so. I've just got a few things to do. I've got to really get to a point. I'm at the moment focusing on training up staff to really help me run my business and help teach what I teach to my clients, so that I have a bit more time to focus on educating my team, but then also branch into education.
Well, that'd be exciting. You got a big brain of knowledge there, brother. That needs to be released to the world, I think.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I think it's all looking pretty good. But you always got to take care of the foundational business, and that's probably the hard thing. I think that's just again a personal or professional development thing of like knowing how to delegate work off, how to manage workload, how to train staff. Right, those are just a new learning curve for me there.
An exciting time for a growing business, I think. All good problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Gus, mate, I'm going to leave you with one more very important question. Earlier, you told me it's 11 o'clock. So I'm going to ask you, what is for lunch?
Oh, what is for lunch? I don't know if I've thought that far ahead. I mean, I've been having this. This is this cafe down the road that just makes these like sandwiches full of meat sandwich.
Yeah.
There you go.
A meat sandwich. That sounds like a good lunch to me, mate. I love it. Gus, mate, for those who don't already know where you are, where do they find you? How do they contact you? Where do they see all this great information you're putting out to the world?
Instagram's probably like the main platform. From there, you'll find all my other content. YouTube is probably the other thing I've just started doing a lot more again.
Nice.
Might even look at start doing a podcast. It's been on my list for a while. I was looking at relaunching that. It's just been a bit of a sporadic thing.
Yep.
People that might know, I used to have quite a big podcast, and that stopped. So hopefully revive that a bit more. So perfect. Yeah,
Instagram. All right. Well, there'll be a link if you're listening, watching. It's down there already. It says Gus. Click on the link. Go see him. Go talk to him. The dude is a genius. Trains the strongest lady on this planet, pretty much, and a bunch of other really cool people. Brother, thanks for coming on, mate. Appreciate your time, mate. We'll have to get you back on. I want to learn more about your travel adventures, and when this education thing kicks off, mate, I'd love to be hearing more about that as well.
Yeah, it'll be a pleasure, mate.
Done.